Alright, so this is complex numbers part 2. Last time we talked about what I is. It's an imaginary number, square root of -1. And we went all the way down to complex conjugates, where I can cancel out by multiplying the denominator by its conjugate in order for me to simplify a complex quotient. Now we're going to factor using complex conjugates, and then we're going to use imaginary numbers in the quadratic equation, and that will be done with our section. So for this one, we have 5x squared plus 20. I can factor out the 5, and I can say 5 times x squared plus 4. What do I know about a squared plus b squared? If you remember, that's the same thing as saying, well, in the case of this particular form, that's the same thing as saying a plus b times a minus b. We learned that in factoring in the previous sections. When it comes to imaginary numbers, and we have the same situation but with a plus as opposed to a minus. Here's a minus, here's a plus. The difference between the two is that I can use a complex conjugate in order to set this up. So I can say, in this, that if it's an a squared plus b squared, I can say that it's a plus bi times a minus bi. And I can turn, and this is a complex conjugate. So the square root of x squared is x. The square root of 4 is 2, so x plus 2, and I'm going to say 2i. And then x minus 2i. Okay, so let's focus on this for a second and prove that it equals x squared plus 2. So using FOIL is x squared minus 2ix plus 2ix. They cancel. 2i. Let's see, minus. So 2 times 2 is 4, right? And it's going to be 4i squared. Remember, I squared is equal to -1. So this is going to be x minus, this is 4 times -1, which is the same thing as saying x squared minus -4, which is x squared plus 4. So it works. I have to be able to get square roots on both sides, and I also have to be able to make sure that this is a plus sign for this to work. When I look at b, I have x squared plus 81. Again, I can square root the 81 and get a 9, and I can square root the x squared and I can get the 8. So I can say that this is x plus 9i times x minus 9i. So this is going to be x plus 9i, just as the proof. X minus 9i, x squared plus, minus rather, 9ix plus 9ix, goodbye, goodbye, minus 81i squared, and that's going to be x squared minus 81, which is x squared plus 81. So it checks. Okay. And then lastly, I can use the quadratic formula. And remember, the quadratic is x is equal to negative b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Now, before, when we had a negative number in between here, we just said there was no solutions and we left it alone. In this case now, we're going to use I instead and still solve. They give us 3x squared minus x plus 2 equals 0. So a equals 3, b equals negative 1, and c equals 2. Alright, so when I plug this in, that's going to be negative 1 plus or minus negative 1 squared minus 4 times 3 times 2 over 2 times 3. So that's going to give me 1 plus or minus 1 minus 24 square root over 6. Plus or minus square root of 23 negative over 6. We know that this has to be an I here, and we have to divide the 6 out both ways because we want it in A plus BI form. So this is going to be 1 over 6, because 1 is being divided by 6, plus or minus the square root of 23 is root 23i. So this is going to be root 23 over 6, and then I is going to be at the back. Okay? Or another way, if you can think about it, you can think about it as separating out the root I. So root negative 1 times 23, and then we know that that is I. So then root 23i. Either way you want to think about it, it works. Okay? So that's A, and then B. We have x squared minus 4x plus 5 equals 0. A equals 1. B equals negative 4. C equals 5. Okay, so this one, negative 4 plus or minus negative 4 squared minus 4 times 1 times 5 square root over 2 times 1. And that gives me 4 plus or minus 16 minus 20 square root over 2. That's 4 plus or minus, this is negative 4 square root over 2. And that's 4 divided by 2 is 2. So we have this guy. So that's going to be square root of 4 times the square root of negative 1. That's 2, and that's I. And then, so now we have, I'm going to focus on here, 2I over 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So it's going to be 2 plus or minus I. Okay. Alright, so that's this section. I hope you have a great rest of your day.